All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tax Planning and Zoning Committee. Time is 9:30. Go ahead and do roll call.
Awful. Here. Geiger.
Here.
Hughes.
Here.
Whitlow.
Here.
Ducat.
Here. Everybody had a chance to look at the agenda. Can I get a first? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Move forward to approve the claims.
So moved.
Doug, you second. A roll call, please.
Awful. Yes. Geiger.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Ducat.
Yes. Moving forward, we'll have public comments. Who'd like to go first? Thank you all for coming.
I would if I could.
That'd be great.
Obviously, there's a fairly unified resistance to this hunt club. And we would like to figure out we understand that they've withdrawn their application. We would like to know, though, for them to get approved through the DNR for a permit. And I have copies of this, if you guys would like copies of the actual statutes. That's actually the first page. There's 75 pages. I didn't print out the whole thing. It's just 68 and 69, which I think is the applicable, and I've highlighted some of the things there. But in there, it specifically says that and that the issuing of the permit of the license will otherwise be in the public interest. That is one of the qualifications. My contention is that they don't qualify on a couple other things too, which are highlighted in there. They don't qualify on the 200 contiguous acres because of Illinois State Highway Route 1 going right through it, and the state of Illinois owns the ground. It's not just a right-of-way thing. I mean, the state owns the ground, so they don't qualify for the 200 acres. And they don't have 100 acres of suitable wildlife habitat. They only have like 30 or 31 acres. But anyways, what affects you guys mostly is this comment about having to be in the public interest. I mean, if it is not you guys that address whether it's in the public interest, who do we talk to about this to make sure that they're aware of our concerns, of the public's concerns? This is the state legislature's writing here. This came from the actual bill that created this or whatever. So I guess that at least from my personal opinion, that's what I would like to hear from you guys. If the zoning board does not address whether it's in the public interest, who do we talk to? Can you point us in the right direction? I've got a call into DNR. That would be one application or whatever, but we're assuming that they're moving forward with this and they're just trying to do it without you guys' approval. Is that a fair assumption?
Well, I can say all I got last night was an email saying that they will not be moving forward with the conditional use permit application.
Which to me, and I think I'm speaking for the group, is telling us that they're gonna move forward. They're just not gonna move forward with the building, and they'll probably operate the thing out of their house or something, which still does not do us any good. So that's our concern, my concern. I guess I don't want to put words together.
Yeah. Where is this located?
It's about 1.5 miles, 2 miles south of Watseka. Obviously, Route 1 splits it right in two, so it's on the east side and west side of Route 1, just south of the S-curve in Route 1, if you're familiar with where the S-curve is at.
Mile north of the Woodland Road.
Yeah. And I think there are, while they meet the technical setbacks and so forth, obviously there's a lot of houses around here that are affected. And again, I guess I'm going back to you guys, that we would like some help as your constituents we would like your help to figure out. And it affects the county too, because if our property values are decreased by this hunting club, you guys are gonna get less money for the county too, so that's my spiel, I guess. I'm not trying to take up a bunch of your time when we know that it's been pulled or whatever for you. Can you help us out, point us in the right direction of who to talk to? If it is not you guys.
I'd like to present to the state attorney and have him take a look at it, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, great.
That would be the first thing, but, if the law says they can, there isn't much the county can do from our standpoint, because the state has made the rules. They've done that on a lot of stuff. We're working on something else right now that they have taken all the rights away from us. So it's the state legislators you need to start going after, to send letters down there and have a conversation.
Well, and the DNR too, I think we need to talk to the DNR.
But who
because
oversees
let
the
them know
DNR?
that it's- Yeah, exactly.
The state legislators. So that's, I think, where it'd be a good start also.
Talking about this legislation, on Sunday night I watched this, The Next Revolution with Steve Helton on Fox News. And he had on there, this last week, it was about, an article going clear back to, 2019 on USA Today in April, to the effect that, I think there was 10,000 proposed bills, and 2,000 of them were approved as passed into law, but they were all they were drafted by lobbyists for corporations that didn't have anything to do with state legislators. And apparently he said, the presentation was that most of the state legislation is drafted by these lobbyists that are employed by corporate interests, not the legislators themselves.
Is there any more public comments?
Yeah, good, I just wanted to. So the printouts there, the first one, addendum 1, that shows part of the hunting area in the red, and then the green highlighting would be land that I and my family own and frequently are on. I've got a little 3-year-old, I've got a little 2-month-old as well. We go out on that ground all the time. Obviously, I have some real safety concerns because there's no embankment between the two pieces of property as it's open field. There's some safety concerns as to, you have some inexperienced hunters come in from out of the area, what it could possibly look like for, even if it's not a life-threatening issue, if it's just my 3-year-old getting sprayed by a stray shot or something, that's really concerning to me. The second addendum there shows one of the parcels, part of the hunt club. You can see both parcels are highlighted in blue, but outlined in blue, with State Route 1 going through it as mentioned. Ownership of that was part of the question. And then the third addendum there, I believe, was it's got all of the neighbors' names where the houses are. And then the hunt club is on the top, the north end of it. You can see highlighted, and then the hunting area is the large swath of orange that's been highlighted. So you can see the proximity to a large number of us neighbors. The next page is, I went on GIS and actually measured from property to property. So that's the distance from the hunting area to our neighbors, and then also for a few of them, from the hunt club to their property. And then the last visual there that I just wanted to point out was the concern, the nuisance of having guns firing off 7 months out of the year. I know that it was kind of mentioned at the previous hearing that they didn't think that we could hear that, but just to give you the comparison, that a gunshot fires off at about 140 decibels. And I mean, you can compare that to some of the other things, the traffic going by. I mean, I live half mile off of the highway and I hear the car horns going off, and that's a much lower decibel than what the gunshots are. So I mean, this is the concern, and that whether or not the conditional use comes through, I know it's been pulled, but whether it comes back or whether they are looking at any type of other zoning, I just wish that you guys would keep that in consideration.
I have a question. This property that's in the red, who owns this?
As Lois West that owns that.
So how can they get the hunting on there?
From what I understand, they've leased the ground.
Leased.
I agree with Paul, as far as contacting Jim Devine, see if we have any recourse. We either do or we don't.
Yeah, either it's legal or it's not. And,
We would greatly appreciate the help.
and if it does come back to a decision for you guys, that's why we were here today, is we wanted to at least be able to present these thoughts and issues to
Saying
you
the
guys.
local people are getting rights taken away by the powers to be of powers in Springfield. It's a shame.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
Very disappointing, so.
Come here more
Appreciate the
often,
time.
I see a lot of stuff that they take away from
Well, they're
us.
coming into the county and dictating to us what we can and cannot do. Our hands are tied on quite a few things here.
Again, thank you for coming in,
Yeah.
ringing the bells, let them give a public comment.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Say they just decide to come down and bring their friends, can they still release the birds like they were going to?
I will have no say-so over that. That would be a DNR question. Anyone else?
That's David. It's on one of the pages of your map there, I'm not sure. My little printout is not as, I think maybe page 3, if I was thinking right. Yeah, on page 3, you can see, on page 3, my house is located right here. Right, so here's the hunting area and there's our homes. Roy's over here and I'm there. On the standard of decision for convinced use, on decision B, it says it should not significantly diminish the value of the property. Well, any of us that would want to sell a home for people, and even if they liked the house and the price, and you tell them that, hey, 7 months out of the year, they're gonna be firing shotguns right over there, all you're gonna see is taillights. They're not gonna be interested in it. So I would say that it definitely does significantly diminish the value of your property.
Thank you.
I would just like to.
You're next.
I'm Diane Goldenstein. My property, which includes my home, lays adjacent to Andrew Grubb's property on the south side. We have a small creek and a very, very narrow patch of woods that divides Andrew Grubb's property from mine. They are proposing a clubhouse on Andrew's property with at least 20 hunters at a time. They are going to allow shooting from that property. So I just want to bring to you that my biggest concern is safety. They're going to have hunters with varying degrees of both firearm skill and hunting experience. They're hoping to bring in children, youth, to do hunting. They obviously don't have the experience that some other hunters do. And just because they complete mandatory safety training does not guarantee that when a bird is scared up, they don't shoot in the wrong direction, or there's even a rogue shot just handling their firearm. My grandchildren and I are in my yard, in my woods, all times of the year. My biggest concern is that stray shot from Andrew's property. Andrew, on Thursday night's public meeting, admitted that a lofted shot would have bird shot in my yard. I don't want bird shot peppering down in my yard or in my woods. I feel like I'm being held hostage to their schedule and their shooting over there. And that's not fair. That's not fair to me, not even being able to enjoy my own property for fear that that's going to happen. And again, I'm in unity with this whole group. It's not just all about me, but I am the closest proximity to that shooting going on. Marvin told you about one of the, in the finding of fact portion on Thursday night, he told you about one of the standards for decision. And A says operation of the conditional use, quote, will not be detrimental to or endanger public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. And I contend that it will. I just thank you for your time. I just wanted you all to know my feeling. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to give a public comment? Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Thank you for giving your concerns. And as you know, we'll be not doing anything with them because they withdrew the conditional use permit. So, thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, moving from public comments, we'll move for reports from the departments. Brianne, would you please first?
Sure. So our scan project of the books at the Old Courthouse Museum is still scheduled for May 8th. Then they will come here and do the Grand Tour grantee indexes. So we're right on schedule for that. Good news. We're still waiting on assessment for extension to begin. And I just want to remind everyone that once they roll to us, it is a minimum of 1 month before we will be completed, depending on what Department of Revenue sends us back with the multiplier and how fast they get it back to us, but minimum of 1 month. We're going to begin the purge of voter registration soon. We're waiting on voter registration cards, so for those of you that don't know what the purge is, every odd number year, we send out voter registration cards, and we send them out to every registered voter. Then that allows the process to begin to start purging people that are not at the right address, that have moved or that have passed away, that we never received notification for. So this is the every other year purge that we do. So anyway, that'll start probably in July, barring no issues. We do have a statement of economic interest. We have 37 people that have not filed. Today begins the $15 fee for failing to file by May 1st. And then the 16th will start the $100 per day. But 37 certified mailings will have to go out. We're planning on doing that tomorrow after we get the mail, just in case someone sent theirs in and it's postmarked before May 1st. The election equipment has been ordered. There are a couple counties ahead of us, so I anticipate receiving that in July or August. And then in odd number of years, we also do a purge of our records. So we have to apply to the state archives in order to get rid of any older records that are on our records disposal certificate. There are threats of lawsuits regarding election records from 2019 and all subsequent elections. Those are the records that we would technically be able to start purging. We would be able to start purging some of the 19, some of the 20. The 2020 general election is the concern of most people. But anyway, that threat of the lawsuit We can't start that purge of those records until at least September. So hopefully we'll be able to start doing that because the storeroom is getting full of all of our stuff. So anyway, hoping that we'll be able to start that shortly after September 1st. And that is all I have.
Does anybody have any questions?
How many voters do you typically void or?
Oh, I don't know a number off the top of my head. It all depends on, like, after the last major flood, where people had to move out of a big portion of Watsika and they were, I don't wanna say transient, but moving from place to place, like if they were only somewhere for a couple months and then they moved somewhere else and that sort of thing. It's a lot higher of a purge, but as far as a total number, I can't give you a total number. You have a question, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was looking at something else. I missed some of your presentation. Are you talking about purging the voting rolls?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there any coordination between your office and the coroner's office? Because anybody deceased within the county.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a statewide database for any person that lived in Iroquois County that has passed away, that we purge them monthly. It can happen to where someone may have died and we haven't gotten them purged because they died in another county, because we only do that once a month, is check the voter, or check the deaths in all the other counties. We only do that once a month to purge those people. So there may be a time where we send out a voter card and someone passed away and we didn't get that notification, but we do check those death records.
Any more questions? Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Kurt.
I don't have anything other than I have a job opening in my office. Cheyenne Wilkin, who has been with me, I think since January, found another job over the weekend, which is paying $6 more an hour than she's making here. So I'm got to be looking for a position, and Brian's looking, Bob's looking, I'm looking, and especially going into tax collection time, it's going to be difficult to find anybody. So, but other than that, I don't have anything else until, like I said, until Brian rolls to me, and then we'll be going from there. So.
Update on tax bills, you're still thinking July, August, have them sent out?
Probably, I'm looking.
I'm not putting you on the spot.
No, I know, but I'm probably, looking at hopefully a July, September collection date.
You're good, Kurt.
I know the second one will
be.
be in September, the first one we'll just have to wait and see.
I just basically, when we read it for the public, they can hear.
Sure.
All right, thank you so much. Unless anybody else has any questions? All right, Bob, we'll move on to you, please.
Just on the, on the topic of the day, we are wrapping up, this week coming up, and, then, we will, close out, send our notification to the Department of Revenue, and then Brian can send, final abstracts to the state, move on with that. And, just for the other topic, we called, 5 people for interviews, told them what the pay was, and they all told us no, before they even came in for an interview. So, we're all in the same boat that way, and, just, other than that, we keep moving forward, so. That's all I got. And obviously Julie doesn't have a zoning report because she's got her husband at a doctor's appointment because of his back surgery.
They say what kind of pay they were wanting?
What's that?
Did they say what kind of pay they were wanting?
So they can go anywhere in town and make more than what you.
Well, like I said, the Cheyenne's roughly making about $20 an hour being a CNA, so.
Walmart's what, 15 now?
14, yeah, 15, yeah, 15, 16, somewhere in there, so.
But Walmart won't be full-time, it won't have benefits. CNA,
Well, I have-
7 days a week, 24 hours.
That matter's all gonna be discussed on Thursday at the finance committee.
Okay.
You still have to come up.
Any more questions for Bob? All right, thank you so much. On the discussion and action of the conditional use for the Hunt Club license, like I said, we got an email that they stated they will not be moving forward with the conditional use permit, and so we'll go ahead and move past that if everybody's okay with that.
It's conditional use for the area that they were talking about hunting in.
Yes, yeah.
No,
No,
the conditional use is for their property, put the
Six
building
acres
on
of the
it,
building.
just that, not with hunting. Just,
Just the siting of the building.
right.
Okay.
all right. Discussion and action on a resolution increasing fees charged by the earthquake county recorder. You're up.
Okay, so you guys probably remember me talking about the rental housing support surcharge program increasing by state law, so Public Act 102-1135, which will become effective July 1st, requires recorders to charge an additional $9 for rental housing support surcharge. All of that money goes straight to the state. Once we collect it, we send it to the Department of Revenue. So we are going from $9 to $18. Again, it's something that is required by law, so we really don't have much choice in it. So this will go on all documents that are, that will affect a interest in real estate, but it won't be on, documents like water, sewer, electricity, gas, telephone, or other public utilities. And then we cannot collect the rental housing support surcharge from any state agency, unit of local government, school district, anything like that. So I am asking for a resolution to be approved to increase that rental housing support program surcharge fee from $9 to $18. We will be, if you recall, there was a $1 question. That has been presented to legislature, but it has not been approved yet. So we have to have this passed because we have to have it in effect minimum of 30 days before the increase for July 1st. So it has to be passed at this meeting. We're anticipating that $1 extra will take effect January of 2024 as long as it passes legislature. So I will be presenting another resolution probably in probably in November to have it effective January, so we can roll with the additional $1. But right now, we can only increase it the $9. So asking for a motion to approve the resolution increasing the state surcharge.
Do I have someone?
So moved. Resolution, yeah, R 2023?
Roll call, right?
Awful? Yep. Geiger?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Rudlow?
Yes.
Ducat?
We're good, passed. We'll go to the full board. Public Act 102-1123.
Do planning.
Yeah. Julie. Wanna go ahead? John, you wanna go ahead?
Well, Mr. Geiger and I have been working diligently on getting all of these revisions into our ordinances, as well as revising the whole ordinance. We're probably about 80% complete with that right now. We're not gonna have it ready for the board meeting next week, partly because when we get done, we wanna have our state's attorney review this, and he happens to be on vacation this week, so that combined with the fact that we're not done means that while we still have the deadline of the end of May to get it in place, so we'll be having a special board meeting probably the 23rd or 24th of May. by which time we will have had this all done. And we'll probably be wanting to have a special meeting of this committee before that board meeting to go over it and approve everything, so. That's kind of where we're at. I welcome any other people to come and participate with Mr. Geiger and I, but we do have to remember the Open Meetings Act regulations in that regard as well, so if you wanna know where we're at, I suppose we could email some stuff to you or whatever, but beyond that, it's
Yeah, I want some.
probably a two-man project is what I'm saying, so.
Love Doug. Okay, got it.
We put some long hours in on this, we've been here many days working until 5 o'clock in the evening.
I was talking to,
Have a question?
yes, I do. I was talking to Cindy Erkey, a few days ago, and she mentioned that she'd been in contact with you regarding stuff that they had done with, in Ford County on the same issue. I just wondered.
That's part of what Doug and I are doing, is reviewing what other counties are doing, and, cause you get ideas, they use some of our stuff, we use some of theirs. It helps us to put together a better product.
Is there anything else? Doug, do you wanna?
No, he's very well covered it.
Sounds good. All right, we'll move on. Old business. Want to talk about DevNet?
Yeah, we can talk about that. We talked about
Great.
the need to consider digitalizing our real estate records for our tax records next door with Bob. And we use DevNet in several of our departments already, and they seem like to be a good fit for us and have a good product, we think. So we got a preliminary estimate then of just a basic package. I don't think it includes any tablets, which is what you would use to go on site to take pictures, enter the data for that parcel, and then it would be uploaded one way or another to the systems to,
No, go ahead.
okay. And we asked them to give us a preliminary figure, so we would know what. So this is a real vanilla package. We don't know about our servers. You'll find in there, they talk about 15,000 users or parcels being a tipping point. We're over 16,000, we've been told, so there might be some more hardware updates that need to take place. The other major part of this is figuring out how to come up with the people hours to go out and get this done of all the different parcels. So DevNet gave us a couple other counties that they say kind of recently started using this system. I've been in contact with one, which is Marion County, which is Salem down south. They're a little bit bigger than we are. They only have 16 townships, and their assessors are working with them, and they've got this done and accomplished, this and that. They still use paper records, and they transfer everything electronically back to the paper, that he doesn't really know why they still do it, and he really doesn't want to do it, but they still do it. So, anyway, you don't save any people. Your workforce is not lessened because you went to automation. So don't let anybody goad you into thinking that's gonna be a savings for us. So we need to work on coming up with ways to fund the actual physical inventory that needs to take place on the local property level. I've been talking with Bob. He's been very nice to brainstorm and come up with options, and we want to work further to come up with a plan that we can talk to the township supervisors with to see how we can fund this along the lines of the project that Jim Sherrill spent with us. I think it was 2 meetings ago that we talked about his proposal.
Is this his company, doesn't it?
Negative.
So this is a different proposal then?
No, this is the software, hardware
Oh, okay.
side of things. Jim is more the labor side of things.
Okay.
And we also have our township assessors who we could maybe get to help us or not, but not every township has an assessor. So we gotta work this out, and again, Bob's been real nice to try to work and see what we can do. Once we come up with something, we can maybe see if there's some funding available on the outside. I guess the real question is do we wanna think about, talking to the ARPA committee so they can, pigeonhole some money for this project or whatever, the committee thinks that we need to,
Are there grants out there for something like this?
haven't found them yet. I got one more township or county to call, but so far we haven't found anything. But there might be something in Springfield. Once we get more of a concrete plan, they could maybe do, or maybe the townships could help us some. We think there might be a little wiggle room there, so.
Yeah, I think it's a very important thing that we need to do. I mean,
It's gonna benefit every
we get in
taxpayer in the
trouble,
county.
we lost all that.
Yeah. So I guess it's the committee's pleasure on how, if there's a more direct,
For everybody to understand, if you look at, is it page 1 I got right here, with the dollar signs? That's 51,000 overall. That is
5
just
years.
for the first 5 years with the equipment. That is not counting the man hours. That is where it could be up to $1 million to have every single piece of property looked over by somebody physically and a picture taken. So I want everybody to understand that also. And that's where if we can find a grant, that would be the help, because I know, as everybody knows here in ARPA, we do not have that left.
No.
We may have, I don't have the number to say, but if I was guessing, about 694,000 left. If we're gonna do everything we have as of right now. With up in the corner. So, about half of that.
Too bad we didn't know this a little sooner. ARPA.
And we shouldn't be relying on ARPA either, that's,
But it would have helped.
so I just want everybody to take that and think about that.
would help the ARPA committee if we came up with a number.
I think it'd help if we put it on the agenda and it'd be a conversation. So we have an idea, just like we're doing with the coroner's office. So it gives everybody an idea of what's going on.
Do an application, give us an idea what kind of money you want,
I mean,
so we can talk about it.
We want.
it'd be all of
We
it.
want.
I mean, to be very fair, it would be all of it. And that's where we need to find a grant for this to help out.
Well, I'll work on the grant by the next ARPA meeting, but we'll talk electronically.
I still think if you put in for at least a couple $100,000, that would be at least a start. But I mean, you don't have to put in an application, as long as we'll just put it on the agenda down the bottom and remind us of what it's about. I'm not gonna forget it, because I'm on ARPA too.
Decide how you want to do it, we'll do it, so no problem.
And no, it's not my decision of the boards. If you wanna put in an application, it's everybody's choice here. If you would rather me just have it on the agenda every month.
I think just to keep it right, we should do an application.
And no figure in the application, but just make an application, you're saying, to make you aware? Is that okay, Paul, or?
That's fine. I know when you put an application, you're gonna be asking for a dollar amount. With just having it on the agenda to remind us about it.
Right.
It might be a better option, but that's my choice. Or not my choice, that's my opinion. I apologize. Yeah, I apologize on that one.
Thank you.
So it means everybody here, it's their choice.
Pursue every option possible, it's like just a composite of different grant.
Right.
And whatever else we can think of.
All right, let's do it this way, we'll put it on the agenda. In the meantime, he can be looking for a grant, how much money that we can get for the grant, and then you can say how much you need.
Fair enough.
Bob, just talking to you on, the DevNet. Is there any use of having that without having the physical pictures taken on everything? Does it help you at all?
Eventually, no matter what you decide to do this year or next year, eventually, this county is gonna have to go to a CAMA system. And if you fund it now and you put it, my plan was to put it in the proposed, whether it gets budgeted or not, I was gonna put it in the budget for my request. It's up to the finance committee if they wanna include that. If they don't, they don't. That's their discretion. But eventually, you wanna have it in place because you can piecemeal this together too. Like Jim Shurl, the assessor from Loda, who presented his, he's already implementing this in his jurisdiction. And it'd be nice to have the CAMA system in place at the county, so when he's done, he can download all his information into DevNet, and it's there. And you can, and I would think, and there's other, possibly other assessors that you could get to do some legwork. But I mean, just to not put it in there, I mean, if you don't bite the bullet on the CAMA system sooner or later, rather than later, you're gonna have to do it. And
So just speaking out,
I mean, without the, and financing wise, as part of the proposal, and me and Doug have talked about this already, is we have to get the townships involved. I shouldn't say townships, the assessment districts involved. Because this is a big part of their assistance to them. And they budget for one of the three functions is assessment. And a lot of them aren't paying much right now at all for assessment work because it's contracted or there's a vacancy. So their money's just sitting there. And that's money that needs to be, that we could tie into, but we need to have a discussion with those supervisors and those heads of the multi-township boards to see what they'd be willing to do. And like I've said in the past, after this next election cycle, you're gonna have 12 assessment districts and you're gonna have probably 9 vacancies. And that's just the reality of it. And I think the townships that have the vacancies would be more than willing to throw money at this over time to help fund this project, because it benefits them just as much as it benefits the county. But we have to have that discussion with them to see where they stand. If they tell us go pound sand, then they tell us that, and then we know, then we're not gonna be able to fund this. It's physically, unless you find a grant, it's not financially feasible for the county to come up with $1.5 million over the next 5 years. I get that. But I think it's important enough that, and the townships have a need for this because they're, just what happened last year, this last summer, I went out and picked up $15 million worth of market value of stuff that was omitted off the tax rolls that nobody was paying taxes on. And I was just because out of the kindness of my heart that I went out and did it. These jurisdictions that these omitted properties were in had contract assessors or elected assessors, and they're just not doing their job. And that is where the county can put their thumb down on these township supervisors and say, wait a minute, we're doing all this work for you guys, now you gotta do something in return for us. But like I said, we need to have that discussion with the townships and get them all in a room and say, hey, here's our plan, here's what we wanna do. Are you willing to help? And see what they say. And until we have that conversation, I think the funding part of this is kinda, it's too much for the county to take on by itself, I get that. And I'm not, you know, it's no, the reality is what it is. I mean, with GIS, it was expensive, but we had recording fees to cover that, and that's where that funding came from for that. But for this is strictly out of our pocket, and it's not financially feasible unless we have either grants or township help. And that's, you know, and however you wanna arrange it, that's always a discussion we can have. And there's different ways to do it. And then obviously, once it's implemented, how is it maintained? And then who does the yearly work to maintain it, all the new stuff and all that. That's all stuff that can be worked out. But the vacancy issue is not a local issue, it's a statewide issue. I know legislatively it's trying to be addressed just to some degree, but you can't wait around for that. These townships need to step up, and so like Middleport and Belmont, they don't have anybody. And that's our biggest that's our biggest area in the county, is Watseka. Now, either township has nobody. So they rely on the goodness of my office's heart to do the work. Well, here we are, it's May, we're complaining about extension, and I'm also gotta worry about 7 townships that don't have it, that have assessors, contract assessors that aren't doing any work. This just compounds the problem. And so, you take it for what it's worth. If I wasn't retiring, I'd get very aggressive with this personally. I'd go after the townships big time and hard, because they've been slacking on this for long, and maybe they'll get offended by what I say, but I've talked to a couple different township supervisors over the last couple of years. They want to know what to do about it. Well, I think this is a solution that can, and we may not get them all to cooperate, but I bet we get quite a few of them.
Do you have a number in mind that you were gonna submit to your budget for this equipment?
That proposal is what I'm submitting.
Okay, cause that doesn't have any.
They got nothing to do with the actually the labor part of
No,
that.
but even the iPads and that needed aren't included in this.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to get that too.
I was just thinking if you had a number that would help out the ARPA committee, but we can talk later and no problem. Yeah.
I can call Scott and see what the deal is with that.
Going off of that, I think it would be intelligent to put an ARPA application in for $51,140.94 to get the software. You can obviously use it down to where Jim's at already.
Plus, another thing we'd have to do initially is send this proposal to area-wide to see what the server situation is.
Definitely need to do that.
So
Can you
going
get the
forward,
townships together
Bob, do you
and
think it would be wise to go ahead and put an ARPA application in to
That's
get
what we
this
wanna do.
for your office?
If that's what you want me to do, I'll do it.
I'm asking you. I know you're retiring, I know you're I know.
I can do that, I mean, it's within my time frame. It's just that, if that's the process, if you wanna do it that way rather than through the budget process, that's fine.
I think that would free up some money for you, and hopefully we can work with the townships, and hopefully a majority of them will wanna work with us. Because as we all know, the most expensive thing is gonna be the groundwork and getting the help from the townships to make this a success.
I'll talk to Jill and see what she wants me to fill out.
I'd go slow on that number though.
Well, the $51,140.94 is for for everything you've got here.
But it isn't. That's what I was trying to tell you earlier. This is a bare bones. This has no input devices, and the license is for those input devices. We have to figure that out. I mean, there's some more to this. So if you said $100,000, I'd say, okay, that might be a minimum.
Well, it does have the license in your support and maintenance.
Only one.
Oh.
For the equipment, but that's for the equipment. If you look at, the third part with licensing, and that, it's per seat about the edtech sketch license per seat,
What page?
3.
What do you mean by per seat?
I think that's by what you're gonna use out in the field.
Sorry.
So if you have 9 assessors out doing this at the same
No,
time.
well, if you go Jim's route, he's purchasing those individual licenses. But but the office is still gonna need some.
Right, so that's where, again, to fine tune it, but I do know that the 51,000 is short of getting the job done. And then they talk about workstation specifics. I don't, did you look at your workstations to see, do they match up with this?
Yeah.
They do? Okay.
We're up to date on,
You have 40 gig hard drives?
I'm actually pretty close to having an office total upgrade on computers are pretty quick too, I think.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm sure it's fine there. I'm not sure what year it is coming up.
But we'll get that figured out.
Yes, we will.
Then I would think that would be the intelligent application to put in would be this one right here for the software. But I'm not talking for the groundwork. That's gonna, hopefully a grant will take care of that situation if we can find one. Or we're gonna have to figure out a different way.
The other thing too is this is a 5-year thing. We can only, look at pay out through 26 unless we prepay it. They might allow us to pay it, but I don't know what Joe will say about doing that for ARPA funds.
As long as it's paid, that money's gone.
Right, but can you prepay, does she allow prepayment to count
It
for
doesn't say
ARPA
anything
funds?
about not prepayment in the rules.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
So you wanna do that,
Do what?
the application for 51?
I don't know if I'd like to sit on longer, see if we can find more information. We can talk to, hopefully these people to find out what investments they've made too. If there's other things.
So then our next thought is we're just gonna have it on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Right.
So we'll have that discussion in our next month's meeting.
If we get
Hopefully
it,
when we come back to tax, because tax is after it,
right,
we'll have a number then, and then the following month we'll have to, I know.
yeah,
You get what I'm saying?
yeah, oh, no, that's, I
It's a
think that's right,
process.
yep. And you're gonna check to see if our servers are.
I'll give that proposal to the area wide and then Adam look at it and see what we're gonna need server wise, if we have to upgrade or whatever.
That would be,
part of that, I would add that to that 51.
actually, if your servers haven't been upgraded for a while and they need to be, then that would be a good time to tie it in to get them upgraded.
I'm not on, do we have an IT committee that meets anymore?
Yeah, Bernie's gonna be here this month too, so you can talk to him.
This is an intelligent way of using ARPA to help out the whole
Yeah.
county. And that's why I wanna see the situation as much as we can, but we still have to also look at other applications that
sure.
take care of them. Bob, thank you for having this conversation.
Yes.
Any more questions on the DevNet?
They're out of Colorado, is where Ted and South, they're home.
Do you have any, we good on the notes then? All right. Any new business? Yes, sir.
I'd like to circle back on that hunt club situation a little bit.
Good.
You said you were gonna talk to the state's attorney about it. What's the purpose of that?
The questions I would have for the state's attorney is, do we have any say-so over what they're asking, the question, which would be going back. Where's my paperwork at? No, I got it.
The reason I'm asking, I think it's important that we all understand what we're dealing with here. First place, the county cannot designate areas for no hunting. That's something that the DNR has exclusive rights over.
Agree.
And as you know, hunting and fishing is a pursuit that's been allowed in this state forever. The state has established seasons for hunting and so forth. When you go and buy a hunting license, you're given a copy of the state regulations, and you have to abide by that. They cannot hunt on highways or within a certain distance of highways, residences, and all these kinds of things.
The question would be.
The people for the people that were here this morning, if there's a land available for hunting, we can't stop that person from hunting on that land. And then, as long as it's not within prescribed distance or violation of the DNR rules to a residence or a highway. I think it's important that we understand those kinds of things, because I'm not sure, I understand where the people are coming from. I live right next to a hunt club, and I'm very familiar with what occurs in there. These people, unless they get a designation as a licensed hunting preserve from the state, are only gonna be limited to hunting season, which is in November and December. Not 7 months. But in any case, it's still regulated by the DNR, and the county has no jurisdiction over any of that.
My question would be,
The thing that Doug pointed out about the conditional use permit, and from a business standpoint, putting up a building of that sort, that's the only thing that the county really has any say-so in. We have people hunting all over the county every year during hunting season. They hunt deer, they hunt upland game. We don't have any jurisdiction over that. We need to, people need to understand that. If somebody is hunting and they're violating the state laws, that's why they have game wardens. And there are game wardens that are in the county on a regular basis. People can file complaints and follow the right procedures to get relief, and that's pretty much the extent of what our authority is.
anything else?
So I'm just bringing it up because I'd like to know what we're talking to Jim Devine about, because I don't know what he's gonna say any different than what I'm saying. Because that's the way it is.
Okay, so the question I have for Jim is on the conditional use of the hunting club recreational license. You go down here to the bottom of page 2, and it says, and if the issuing of the license will otherwise be in the public interest. Is that from this committee, or is this from a DNR standpoint?
DNR.
And if it is from a DNR standpoint, then we have nothing that we can,
If they're gonna operate as a hunt club, their permit from the DNR to do that would enable them to do hunting outside of the regularly established hunt season.
correct.
They can go up until April 1st. They can't go beyond April 1st because the state has laws about nesting. And they have to stop in advance of those.
But I don't wanna ask that question, I'm asking this question, so that way the public that came here today has an understanding that we will not oversee that, that's what the DNR has to oversee.
Right, that's the reason I'm
It may be a very simple
trying
question
to
and answer,
clarify it a little bit.
but I have to have the public understand that it's not us that oversee that, it would be the DNR.
And the fact that by state law, everybody has a right to hunt.
Correct, and I'm a very avid sportsman,
Get a
so
hunting.
I understand where that's coming from. My point is, I just want the public to understand that we will find out if it's us that oversees it or the DNR. And as long as the DNR oversees it and not us, they have to understand they need to go to the DNR if they wanna have that conversation.
Second paragraph of what he gave us says, this act shall be administered by and under the direction of the Department of Natural Resources.
Right there.
So I mean, that,
I agree with you.
Yeah.
You gotta understand where I'm coming from, though.
Yeah,
I
I
want
do.
them to understand.
You want them to know that we.
Right, it's not that
Right.
we're just going to just bypass and let this go.
Right.
It's just that we will get a conversation and let the state's attorney just say that what we read is correct. And they gotta understand, that's, our hands are tied, then there's nothing we can do. And I want them to understand that.
Ignore.
I wanna know we did our due diligence, not just said,
Now sitting on our hands.
right,
How are we gonna get back to them with that information then?
well, if we have to wait 2 weeks
We'll
and
have
get back with it,
email
well,
them all.
Are we gonna write them a letter though, or how you?
no, we can state it in the county board meeting, if we have to, under tax to let them know this. Would that be wrong?
No, but I don't know how the people that were here today, if you're gonna inform them what we're saying.
I think if they're really interested in it, they would listen to the county board meeting. And then have somebody there.
Contact somebody.
Plus what we said today to them.
It's our diligence to look into it. It's their due diligence to be there to hear what's said. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, well, I think maybe sending them a letter or something might be a better.
I agree with you, but if everybody came here for a public comment about something heavy like this, that they feel really passionate about, we'd be sending emails out all day long.
I just think it's obviously a sensitive subject, and certainly during hunting season, the sounds of gunfire carry a long way. So
Oh, all the time.
it's something that's just part of the.
That's just part of it. Just like they just changed this year
See
to,
their point as a.
you can use a different type of weapons for deer hunting.
There's the last woman that talked,
Yeah.
she's concerned about birdshot falling on the property.
Right.
I can remember some years ago, they were shooting doves adjacent to our.
All right, let's move forward on to new business.
Up in the air and flying right in our house.
Is there any more new business?
Nope.
Can I get a motion, please?
So moved. So adjourned.
All fair side? Meeting adjourned at 10:32. Thank you, everybody. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
I just wanted.
No, I don't,
They do, when they came
I can
here.
see, I can see where that was
No, but I
disconcerting.
didn't.